Ed O'Neill was the person everyone loved to hate for more than 10 years. To everyone else, he was old Bundy, the shoe salesman who had lost and was stuck in a house full of insults and broken goals. But there was a story behind that cynical grin that not many people knew. A story about being tired, feeling bad about things, and times when the line between fiction and reality was fuzzy. At the end of the video, Ed O'Neill wasn't laughing. It was like he could not separate his life from the man that everyone laughed at every Sunday night. He's telling the truth now, after many years. This is the story that didn't make the news but changed the way he sees everything. The show that changed his whole life. Ed O'Neill walked into a Los Angeles casting room in 1986 and didn't know it, but that one moment would change the course of his career. He wasn't the first choice for the company. Not even close. Fox XX wanted a well-known name for their risky new sitcom about an unhappy middle-class family. But when Ed sat down, let out a long, sad sigh, and mumbled his first line, the room fell quiet. That small act, which came from watching his uncles work long hours in an Ohio factory, was the moment Michael Moe and Ron Levitt saw old Bundy come to life. Even so, the network was still not sure. Ed wasn't famous. He had only been in a few movies and mostly played roles in plays. No one could recognize his face. There was no call for weeks. He thought he had lost the part, but the producers pushed hard for him, saying that his weariness, timing, and quiet being himself were qualities that could not be replaced. When Fox finally said yes, it felt like a lot. Ed wasn't just pretending to be someone else. He was in charge of the whole experiment of a network that was trying to show it could compete with big networks like NBC and CBS. He wouldn't just lose his job if getting married and having kids didn't work out. It could hurt Fox's early hopes. Ed put everything he had into the part. Every sigh, insult, and snarky retort felt real to him because he read the script line by line. He didn't know at the time, though, that being realistic would cost him something. He was so tired from playing a man who had given up on life that it started to blend into his real life. Soon, the family that was only meant to be in the show began to fall apart behind the scenes. The recasting and the need to believe. Most fans thought that the Bundy family we saw in the pilot had been there from the start. That's not true. Kate and Bud Bundy were played by two different actors in the pilot episode of Married with Children. Their names were Tina Casper and Hunter Carson. From the beginning, the set didn't feel right. After the fact, Ed O'Neill remembered that the family didn't work well together. There wasn't any chemistry, and the jokes didn't work. It was there for him to feel. Every joke that falls at the wrong time and every pause that is longer than it should be. Then, not long after finishing the pilot, Fox XX made a harsh call. Both kids lost their jobs. Ed said it wasn't just ability that was the reason. It was a good fit with him. The show depended on making it seem like this family was real, and the studio thought that the energy around Ed had to be real. Hunter was too quiet, and Tina was too smooth. It was a hard choice to make. Ed later said he was sorry for what happened. After filming the pilot, those players were happy and told their families they had made it. But then they got a call that got rid of everything. He said in a low voice that they were gone before the show even began. Then the new ones came along. David Fino, who was only 12, played Bud Bundy with a sly, desperate humor that balanced Ed's darkness. Suddenly, everything worked. But while the on-screen family finally clicked, the off-screen pressures started to build. The show was filmed in front of a live audience, so every episode was a public test. Each laugh, or lack of it, was a judgment. And Ed soon learned that playing both the funny and sad parts of old Bundy every week would take more than just good timing. It would hurt his mind, body, and relationships for years to come. The stage that never slept, the hidden toll of the live audience. Every week for 11 years, Ed O'Neill stood under the hot studio lights and performed for a live audience of 300 to 500 people. The laughter, stumbles, silences, and pressure were all real. Every scene on Married with Children wasn't filmed in a safe bubble with canned laughter. Every scene lived or died in real time, and Ed felt that weight more than anyone else. He once said that when a scene failed, you could feel the disappointment in the room. When the audience laughed, it was electric, he said. But when they didn't, you wanted to disappear, because you were so tired. Some episodes went late into the night as the cast did takes and reshot scenes to find the perfect balance between laughter and silence. If the crowd laughed too long, timing fell apart, and if they didn't laugh at all, the directors stopped everything to reshoot. Ed's body began to pay the price. He was doing constant physical comedy, falls, fights, slapstick chaos, all meant to look effortless. But by season 5, his back was in constant pain. He pushed through bruises and fatigue, knowing that if old Bundy ever looked like he wasn't trying, the entire illusion would collapse. He later said that some days he'd drive home barely able to move, only to return the next morning and do it all again. The live crowd also made certain moments excruciating when jokes about Peg's laziness or sexuality went too far. You could feel the discomfort ripple through the audience. Katie Siegel once told him she dreaded certain scenes, not because of the script, but because doing them in front of real people felt like being stripped bare. Still, Ed insisted the audience was what made the show feel alive. It was unpredictable, messy, and brutally honest. But that same energy also exposed every weakness, every missed beat, every piece of humanity the cast tried to hide. And it was during these long, sleepless weeks that cracks began forming, not just in the Bundy household, but between the people who brought it to life. Fans of Married with Children have thought for years that there was trouble between Ed O'Neill and Amanda Bears, who played Marcy, the sarcastic neighbor who was always fighting with old Bundy. Ed denied the rumors for a long time, but in recent interviews, he finally admitted the truth. There was a feud that lasted years. It started in 1989 with something that seemed harmless. TV Guide put out a cover featuring the show stars, but Amanda Bears and her on-screen husband, David Garrison, were left off. Ed knew about the cover but didn't say anything because he didn't think much of it at the time. He was the lead and Katie was his co-star, and that's how the business worked. But to Amanda, it felt like a betrayal. He could have said something, she would later tell fans, but he didn't. She felt removed from a show she had helped shape. Ed said he felt bad about not speaking up. "I should have spoken up," he said. It was a mistake, but by the time he realized it, it was too late. The mood on set had changed. People talked less and avoided eye contact. The professional rhythm that made the Bundy Rhodes dynamic so funny now had an undercurrent of tension. Things got worse when Amanda got married in 1993 and didn't invite Ed. Later, she said it wasn't out of spite, she just wanted a calm day without the awkwardness of their tense friendship. Ed took it personally. "That hurt," he admitted. "I thought we were family." From then on, they barely spoke outside of scripted lines. Even scenes together became awkward, which was strange for two actors who were known for making people laugh with their constant fighting. Katie Siegel tried to mediate, but both sides refused to give in. Years later, Ed admitted that his ego played a role. "I should have understood how she felt. I didn't," he said. That silence between them became a ghost that lingered long after the cameras stopped. And as the seasons went on, Married with Children became less like a comedy and more like a battlefield where every joke hid an unspoken wound. Boycotts, backlash, and the day everything changed. In 1989, Married with Children faced the kind of firestorm that could have destroyed any show and nearly did. It started with one woman, Terry Raculta, a conservative activist from Michigan, who caught an episode she found offensive and decided to fight back. She wrote letters to advertisers claiming the show was corrupting American families. Within weeks, major companies, including Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble, pulled their ads. For Fox, which was still a young and unstable network, it was a nightmare. They called emergency meetings, debating whether to tone down the scripts or even cancel the show outright. Inside the studio, panic spread. Writers whispered about censorship. Crew members worried about their jobs. The cast and crew had always seen the show as a satire, but all of a sudden they were accused of supporting the very things they were making fun of. Ed O'Neill remembered the confusion very well. He said he first heard about the boycott from reporters on set, not from the network. "They told us not to say anything," he explained. "They were afraid that if we defended the show, it would make things worse." Katie Seal later said that time was terrifying. She thought her career might end before it even started. Christina Applegate, who was only 17 at the time, became a target for moral outrage. Critics said the show was exploiting her character's sexuality, even though she was acting out lines written by adults. Few fans realized how that controversy changed the show forever. The writers didn't tone it down, they made it funnier. Funny or not, the boycott got Fox more attention than ever before. Ratings went through the roof, and people who had never seen Married with Children watched just to see what all the fuss was about. Ed later called it the best marketing campaign we never paid for, but there was anger behind his jokes. The controversy taught him that success always came with a price, and sometimes that price was innocence. Loss, regret, and the scene he refused to film. By 1991, Married with Children had built a cult following and survived the boycott. But behind the laughter, tragedy struck. Katie Siegel, who played the sharp-tongued Peg Bundy, became pregnant during the show's 6th season, and the writers decided to work her pregnancy into the story. The Bundys were finally going to have another child.